The door opened, and my life shattered. 5 years. 5 years of silence. 5 years of lies. She stood there, the woman I once loved, holding a child. My child. My fiancé's perfume still on my skin. My son's eyes staring into mine. How do you choose between the life you built and the truth you never knew existed? Some secrets don't ask permission to destroy you. This is mine. The penthouse smelled like expensive wine and her perfume. Jae-hyun closed the door behind him, the weight of the weekend still warm on his skin. Isabella, his fiancée, laughed softly as she kicked off her heels, her dark hair catching the late afternoon light filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "I'm going to take a shower," she said, brushing her lips against his jaw. "Don't disappear on me," he smiled. "Never." She vanished down the hallway, and he stood there for a moment, letting the silence settle. This was supposed to be his life now. Clean, controlled, far from the blood-stained empire his family had built. His phone buzzed. "Bodyguard." "Sir, there's a situation at the front entrance. A woman. She says she needs to speak with you. She won't leave." Jae-hyun frowned. He didn't have unexpected visitors. Not here. Not at his private residence. "Jae-hyun, who is she?" "Bodyguard. She says her name is Maya." The name hit him like a fist to the chest. Maya. He hadn't heard that name in 5 years. Hadn't allowed himself to think about her. The woman who left without explanation. The woman who disappeared the night he told her he loved her. "Jae-hyun, I'll be down in 2 minutes." He moved quickly, the elevator ride feeling longer than it should. His heartbeat was louder than the hum of the machinery. When the doors opened, he stepped into the marble lobby, and there she was. Maya, 30 years old now, still beautiful. Still the only woman who ever made him feel like he wasn't enough. But she wasn't alone. A small boy stood beside her, his hand gripping hers tightly. Dark hair, wide eyes that looked exactly like Jae-hyun's. The world stopped. "Jae," Maya said softly. Her voice was the same. Steady. Too steady. He couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. "Who is this?" he heard himself ask. Though he already knew. He already knew. Maya's grip on the boy's hand tightened. "This is Ethan." The boy looked up at him. 5 years old. Maybe 6. "Ethan," Maya continued, her voice trembling now. "This is your father." Jae-hyun's knees should have buckled, but he was a man trained to control every reaction, every emotion. So he stood there, frozen, staring at the child who had his face. "What are you doing here?" His voice was cold, controlled, a weapon. Maya flinched. "I didn't have a choice." "You always have a choice." He stepped closer, his shadow falling over both of them. "You made yours 5 years ago when you left." "I was pregnant," she whispered. "And you didn't think I deserved to know?" Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. "Your family, don't." His voice cut through the air like glass. "Don't you dare blame them." Ethan looked between them, confused and scared. Jae-hyun forced himself to soften, to breathe. "Why now?" he asked quietly. Maya swallowed hard. "Because I'm dying." The words didn't make sense at first. They hung in the air. Impossible. "What?" "I have 6 months. Maybe less." She looked down at Ethan, and this time a tear did fall. "He needs you. I tried to do this alone, but I can't leave him with no one." Jae-hyun's chest tightened. "You can't just show up and—" "I know." Her voice broke. "I know I have no right, but he's your son, and he deserves a father." Ethan tugged on Maya's hand. "Mama, I'm scared." Maya knelt down, brushing his hair back. "It's okay, baby. This is good." But nothing about this was good. Jae-hyun turned away, his hands trembling. Upstairs, Isabella was waiting. The woman he was supposed to marry in 3 months. The life he was supposed to have. And here, standing in his lobby, was the life he never knew existed. "I need time," he said. "We don't have time," Maya replied. He looked at her then. Really looked at her. The exhaustion in her eyes. The way she held herself like she was already breaking. She was telling the truth. "One day," he said. "Give me 1 day." Maya nodded slowly. "Okay." She wrote down an address on a piece of paper and handed it to him. "We're staying at a motel on 5th, room 12. He took the paper, his fingers brushing hers. For a moment, they were 25 again. In love, stupid, reckless. Then she pulled away, took Ethan's hand, and walked out the door. Jae-hyun stood there long after they were gone. When he finally went back upstairs, Isabella was out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, smiling. "Hey, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." He forced a smile. "Yeah, just work." She kissed his cheek. You work too hard. He nodded. But the truth was, he didn't know how to tell her that everything they'd built together was about to shatter, because the ghost he'd seen wasn't a ghost at all. It was his son. Jae-hyun didn't sleep. He sat on the balcony until dawn, the city lights blurring into a sea of gold and shadow. Isabella had fallen asleep hours ago, curled up in their bed, trusting him, trusting the man she thought she knew. He stared at the piece of paper in his hand. Room 12, 5th Street Motel. A son. He had a son. The words didn't feel real. They felt like something from another life, another version of himself he'd buried a long time ago. When the sun finally rose, he made a decision. He had to see the boy again. Isabella woke up to an empty bed. She found Jae-hyun in the kitchen, already dressed, staring at his coffee like it held answers. "You're up early," she said, wrapping her arms around him from behind. He stiffened, just for a second, but she felt it. "Couldn't sleep," he said. "Is everything okay?" He turned to face her, and for a moment, he almost told her, almost let the words spill out. "I have a son. My ex-girlfriend showed up yesterday. She's dying." But instead, he kissed her forehead and lied. "Everything's fine. Just a lot on my mind." She studied him, her dark eyes searching. "You'd tell me if something was wrong, right?" "Of course." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I have a meeting this morning," he said. "I'll be back by lunch. Okay?" She hesitated. "Jay, I love you." "I love you too." The words felt like betrayal. The motel was exactly what he expected. Peeling paint, cracked concrete, a place where people went to disappear. Room 12 was at the end of the hallway. Jae-hyun stood outside the door for a long time before knocking. Maya opened it almost immediately, like she'd been waiting. "You came," she said softly. "Where else would I go?" She stepped aside and he walked in. The room was small, clean, but worn. Ethan sat on the bed, coloring in a book, his legs swinging back and forth. When he saw Jae-hyun, he froze. "Hi," Jae-hyun said. Ethan didn't respond, just stared. Maya knelt beside him. "Ethan, remember what we talked about?" The boy nodded slowly. "This is your dad," she said gently. "He's here because he wants to meet you." Ethan looked up at Jae-hyun, his expression unreadable. "Do you like cars?" Jae-hyun asked. Ethan's eyes lit up. "Yeah, me too." The boy smiled. Small, tentative, but real. And something inside Jae-hyun cracked. They sat on the floor together, building a small tower out of blocks Maya had brought. Ethan explained the rules. Blue blocks go on the bottom, red on top, and Jae-hyun listened like it was the most important thing in the world, because maybe it was. "He looks like you," Maya said from the chair by the window. Jae-hyun glanced at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" She looked away. "Because I was scared. Of me? Of your family." She met his eyes. "You know what they would have done." He did. His family didn't tolerate complications. And a child, an unplanned child with a woman from outside their world, would have been exactly that. "I would have protected you," he said. "Would you?" Her voice was quiet, sad. "You were 27. You had just taken over. Your father was still alive. Your brothers were." "Don't." She stopped. Ethan looked up. "Mama, are you sad?" "No, baby," she smiled. "I'm okay." But she wasn't. Jae-hyun could see it. The way her hands trembled, the pallor in her skin. "How long have you known?" he asked. 3 months. "And you waited until now?" "I was trying to figure it out on my own." Her voice broke. "I didn't want to ruin your life." "You think this isn't ruining my life?" The words came out harsher than he intended. Ethan flinched. Maya stood. "Maybe you should go." "Maya." "No." She crossed her arms. "You don't get to be angry at me for trying to protect him. For trying to protect you. I didn't need protecting." "Yes, you did." Tears spilled down her cheeks now. "You still do." He stared at her. And for the first time in years, he felt like the man he used to be. The one who loved her. The one who would have given up everything. But that man was gone. "I'm engaged," he said. Maya's face went pale. "What?" "I'm getting married. In 3 months." She laughed bitterly. "Of course you are. Her name is Isabella. She's—" "I don't care." Maya wiped her eyes. "You should go." "Maya, go, Jay." Ethan looked up, confused. "Is he leaving?" "Yes," Maya said. "But I don't want him to leave." The boy's voice was small, broken. Jae-hyun's chest tightened. "I'll come back," he said. "When?" Ethan asked. He didn't know. He didn't have an answer. So he just nodded, stood, and walked to the door. Before he left, he turned back. I'm not abandoning him, he said. Maya's eyes were red, swollen. Then prove it. When Jaehyun got home, Isabella was on the couch, scrolling through wedding magazines. Hey, she looked up, smiling. I was thinking we could do gold accents instead of silver. What do you think? He looked at her, really looked at her. She was perfect, kind, everything he thought he wanted, but she wasn't the mother of his child. Gold sounds great, he said. She frowned. Are you sure you're okay? Yeah. He sat beside her. I'm fine. But he wasn't, and he didn't know how to fix it. 3 days passed. Jaehyun went to the motel every morning. Isabella thought he was handling business, and in a way, he was. The most important business of his life. Ethan was starting to warm up to him. They played with cars, drew pictures, ate breakfast at a diner 2 blocks away, and slowly, carefully, Jaehyun was learning how to be a father. But Maya was getting worse. She tried to hide it, the way she winced when she stood, the exhaustion that clung to her like a second skin. But he saw it. You need to see a doctor, he said one morning. I have a doctor. Then you need a better one. She smiled weakly. Money doesn't fix everything, Jay. It fixes most things. She didn't argue. That afternoon, while Ethan napped, Maya and Jaehyun sat outside the motel room on 2 plastic chairs. What's the plan? He asked. The plan? He couldn't say it. When you can't take care of him anymore. Maya looked at the sky. I don't have one. You just said you had 6 months. I said maybe 6 months. Her voice was hollow. It could be less. His jaw tightened. You can't just drop this on me and expect me to... To what? She turned to him, her eyes fierce. To love him? To care? You're his father, Jay. That's not optional. I have a life, Maya. So did I. Her voice cracked, and I gave it up the second I found out I was pregnant. The guilt hit him like a wave. I'm not trying to be cruel, he said quietly. I don't know how to do this. None of us do. She reached over, her hand covering his. But you'll figure it out, because that's what you do. He looked down at their hands. For a moment, they weren't enemies. They weren't exes. They were just 2 people trying to survive. When he got home that night, Isabella was in the kitchen cooking. Hey, stranger, she said, smiling. I made your favorite. He kissed her cheek. You didn't have to. I wanted to. She set down the spoon, turning to face him. You've been so distant lately. I'm sorry. Is it the wedding? She asked. If you're having second thoughts, I'm not. But even as he said it, the lie tasted bitter. She studied him. Then what is it? He wanted to tell her, wanted to be honest, but the words wouldn't come. Just stress, he said. The family business. You know how it is. She frowned. You said you were stepping back. I am. Doesn't feel like it. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. I'm sorry. I'll do better. Promise? Promise. She smiled, but when she turned back to the stove, he felt the weight of the lie crushing him. The next morning, Maya called. Ethan wants to see you, she said. I was going to come by anyway. No. Her voice was strained. He's asking for you specifically. He had a nightmare. Jaehyun's chest tightened. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When he arrived, Ethan was curled up on the bed, clutching a stuffed bear. Hey, buddy, Jaehyun said softly. Ethan looked up, his eyes red. I had a bad dream. What happened? Mama left, and I couldn't find her. Jaehyun sat beside him, his throat tight. She's not going anywhere. But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. Ethan leaned against him, and Jaehyun wrapped his arm around the boy. Can you stay? Ethan whispered. Yeah, Jaehyun said. I can stay. He stayed for hours, until Ethan fell asleep, until Maya came back from the pharmacy, exhausted and pale. Thank you, she said. You don't have to thank me. She sat beside him, watching Ethan sleep. I'm scared, she admitted. Of dying? Of leaving him alone. Jaehyun didn't know what to say, so he just sat there in the silence and let her cry. When he finally left, it was almost midnight. Isabella was asleep when he got home. He stood in the doorway, watching her. She was beautiful, perfect, and he was breaking her heart. He just didn't know how to stop. 2 weeks passed like a storm. Jaehyun was living 2 lives, one with Isabella, planning a wedding, choosing flowers, pretending everything was normal, and one with Maya and Ethan, learning to be a father, watching a woman die, carrying a secret that was eating him alive. But secrets never stay buried forever. It was a Tuesday when Isabella found the receipt. Jaehyun had left his jacket on the chair, and she'd picked it up to hang in the closet. A small slip of paper fell out. 5th Street Diner. Breakfast for 3. $34. $50. She frowned. Jae-hyun never went to diners, and he certainly didn't eat breakfast with anyone but her. She told herself it was nothing. Probably a business meeting. But something felt wrong. That evening, when Jae-hyun came home, she was waiting. "Who did you have breakfast with?" she asked. He froze. "What?" She held up the receipt. 5th Street Diner. Breakfast for 3. His mind raced. A client and his associate. At a diner? He wanted something low-key. Isabella studied him, her eyes sharp. "You're lying." "I'm not. Jay." She stepped closer. "I know you, and I know when you're hiding something." He wanted to tell her, wanted to let it all out, but the words stuck in his throat. "It's nothing," he said. "Then why can't you look at me?" He met her eyes. "Because I'm tired, Isabella. I'm tired of you questioning everything I do." It was cruel. Deflection. And it worked. She stepped back, hurt flashing across her face. "I'm not trying to control you. I feel like I'm losing you." "You're not." "Then prove it." Her voice broke. "Come to bed early tonight. Talk to me. Be here." He nodded. "Okay." But even as he said it, his phone buzzed. Maya. "Maya, Ethan's asking for you. Can you come by tomorrow?" He slipped the phone back into his pocket. Isabella didn't miss it. "Who was that?" she asked. "Work." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned and walked away. The next morning, Jae-hyun went to the motel. Maya was sitting outside, wrapped in a blanket despite the warm weather. "You look terrible," he said. She laughed weakly. "Thanks. I'm serious. You need to go to the hospital. I can't afford it. I'll pay." She shook her head. "I don't want your money. It's not about what you want." His voice was firm. "It's about Ethan. He needs you alive as long as possible." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm trying, Jay." "I know." He sat beside her. "But you can't do this alone anymore." She wiped her eyes. "What are you saying?" "Move into one of my properties. Something better than this. Let me get you a nurse, a doctor, whatever you need." "And what do I tell Ethan?" "The truth, that I'm helping." She looked at him. Really looked at him. "You're going to break her heart, aren't you?" He didn't have to ask who she meant. "I don't know," he said honestly. Maya's expression softened. "She doesn't deserve this. Neither do you. Maybe we all deserve exactly what we get." That afternoon, Jae-hyun moved Maya and Ethan into a small house on the outskirts of the city. It was quiet, safe, far from the motel. Ethan ran through the rooms laughing, his voice echoing off the walls. "It's big," he shouted. Maya smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you," she said to Jae-hyun. "Don't thank me yet." "Why not?" "Because this is just the beginning." When Jae-hyun got home that night, Isabella was gone. A note sat on the kitchen counter. "I'm staying at my sister's tonight. I need space. He crumpled the note in his fist. This was falling apart faster than he could control. Isabella came back 3 days later. She didn't say much, just unpacked her bag, made coffee, and sat across from him at the breakfast table. "I talked to my sister," she said. "And? She thinks I'm being paranoid." Isabella looked down at her cup. "But I don't feel paranoid. I feel like I'm losing my mind." Jae-hyun reached for her hand. "You're not." "Then tell me the truth." Her voice was steady, calm, dangerous. "Are you seeing someone else?" No, it wasn't technically a lie. He wasn't seeing Maya. Not like that. But it felt like a lie anyway. Isabella studied him. "Then what is it?" He hesitated. This was the moment. He could tell her everything. Come clean. But instead, he said, "I'm dealing with some family issues. Things I can't talk about yet." "Family issues," she repeated. "Yes." "Your brothers?" "Something like that." She pulled her hand away. "You know what the problem is, Jay? I don't think you trust me." "I do." "Then why won't you let me in?" Because letting her in meant losing her, and he wasn't ready for that. "I will," he said. "Just not yet." She stood. "I'm going to the wedding planner today. Alone." "Isabella." "Don't." She grabbed her purse. "I'm done begging you to care." The door slammed behind her. At the house, Ethan was playing in the yard. A nurse, hired by Jae-hyun, was inside with Maya. "How is she?" Jae-hyun asked. The nurse, a woman in her 50s named Carol, shook her head. "Not good. She needs to be in a hospital. She won't go. Then she's going to die here." The words hit him like a punch. "How long?" he asked. "Weeks. Maybe a month if she's lucky." He nodded slowly. Carol left, and Jae-hyun sat beside Maya's bed. She was asleep, her breathing shallow. He watched her for a long time. This woman, who had loved him, left him, and come back to destroy his life, was dying, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. When Maya woke, she smiled weakly. "You're still here," she said. "Where else would I be?" She reached for his hand. "You should be with her." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I can't lie to her anymore." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Then tell her the truth." "And lose her?" "You're going to lose her anyway, Jay." Her voice was soft, sad. "At least this way, you'll have your son." He looked away. "I need you to promise me something," Maya said. "What?" "When I'm gone, take care of him. Love him. Don't let him forget me." His throat tightened. "I promise." She smiled. "Good." That night, Jae-hyun made a decision. He was going to tell Isabella, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. When he got home, she was in the living room, surrounded by wedding binders and fabric samples. "Hey," he said. She looked up. "Hey." He sat beside her. "We need to talk." Her face went pale. "You're calling off the wedding." "No, He stopped. "Actually, I don't know." She stared at him. "What does that mean?" "It means I haven't been honest with you." Tears filled her eyes. "I knew it. It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" He took a breath. "I have a son." The words hung in the air. Isabella blinked. "What?" 5 years old. His name is Ethan. His mother is my ex-girlfriend. She's dying." Isabella stood, her hands shaking. "You're joking." "I'm not." "How long have you known?" "A few weeks." She laughed bitterly. "A few weeks? And you didn't think to tell me?" "I didn't know how." "How about, Isabella, I have a son." Her voice broke. "It's not that hard, Jay. I'm sorry." "Sorry?" She grabbed her purse. "Sorry doesn't fix this." "Where are you going?" "Anywhere but here." "Isabella, please." "Don't." She turned, tears streaming down her face. "I loved you. I trusted you, and you made a fool out of me." "That's not true, isn't it?" She wiped her eyes. "I'm done, Jay. We're done." And just like that, she walked out. The door didn't slam this time. It just closed. Quiet. Final. The call came at 3:47 a.m. Jae-hyun was awake. He'd been awake for hours, staring at the ceiling of his empty penthouse, thinking about all the ways his life had shattered in the span of 3 weeks. When his phone buzzed, he knew before he answered. "Mr. Min, it's Carol." The nurse's voice was tight with panic. "Maya collapsed. The ambulance is on its way. You need to get here." He was dressed and in his car in under 2 minutes. The city was silent at this hour. Empty streets, dark windows, the kind of quiet that felt like the world was holding its breath. He drove like a man possessed, weaving through intersections, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. Please, not yet. Just a little more time. When he pulled up to the house, the ambulance was already there, lights flashing red and blue against the white walls. Paramedics moved quickly, efficiently, loading a stretcher through the front door. Jae-hyun ran toward them. "Stop!" he shouted. She's... One of the paramedics held up a hand. "Sir, are you family?" "Yes." "Then you can ride with us. But we need to move. Now." Carol appeared in the doorway, her face pale, holding Ethan's hand. The boy was in his pajamas, bare feet on the cold concrete, tears streaming down his face. "Mama!" Ethan screamed, trying to pull away from Carol. "Mama!" Jae-hyun's heart cracked. He ran to Ethan, dropping to his knees, pulling the boy into his arms. "It's okay," he whispered, even though it wasn't. "It's okay, buddy. I'm here." "They're taking Mama." Ethan sobbed into his shoulder. "Make them stop. They're trying to help her." "I want to go with her." Jae-hyun looked at Carol. She shook her head slightly. "Not a good idea." He pulled back, looking Ethan in the eyes. "Listen to me. I'm going to ride in the ambulance with your mom, and Carol is going to bring you to the hospital in my car, okay? You'll see her as soon as we get there. Promise?" "I promise." Ethan nodded, sniffling. Jae-hyun kissed his forehead, then turned and ran to the ambulance. Inside, Maya was barely conscious. An oxygen mask covered her face. An IV snaked into her arm. The paramedic was taking her vitals, calling out numbers that meant nothing to Jae-hyun, but everything to the people trying to save her. "Maya," he said, taking her hand. Her eyes fluttered open. She tried to say something, but the mask muffled her words. "Don't talk," he said. "Just hold on." She squeezed his hand weakly. The paramedic glanced at him. "How long has she been sick?" "A few months. Stage 4 cancer." The paramedic's expression didn't change, but Jae-hyun saw it. The look that said, "There's nothing we can do." "We're doing everything we can," the paramedic said. But Jae-hyun had been around death long enough to know what that really meant. We're keeping her alive until you can say goodbye." The hospital was a blur of fluorescent lights and sterile hallways. They rushed Maya into the emergency room, and Jae-hyun was left standing in the waiting area, alone. Carol arrived 10 minutes later with Ethan. The boy ran to him, and Jae-hyun caught him, holding him tight. "Where's Mama?" Ethan asked. "The doctors are helping her. Can I see her?" "Not yet." Ethan's face crumpled, and he buried his face in Jae-hyun's chest. Carol sat beside them, exhausted. "Thank you," Jae-hyun said quietly. "She's a fighter," Carol said. But she didn't finish. She didn't have to. 2 hours passed. Ethan fell asleep in Jae-hyun's arms, his small body curled against his chest. Jae-hyun stared at the wall, his mind empty. He didn't pray. He'd stopped believing in anything merciful a long time ago, but he found himself wishing anyway. Just a little more time. Just let her see him one more time. Finally, a doctor emerged. "Family of Maya Okafor?" Jae-hyun stood carefully, shifting Ethan in his arms. "I'm her," he hesitated. "I'm the father of her son." The doctor nodded. "We've stabilized her, but I need to be honest with you. Her condition is critical. The cancer has spread to her lungs and liver. We're doing everything we can to keep her comfortable, but how long?" The doctor's face was somber. "Days, maybe less." Jae-hyun felt the ground shift beneath him. "Can I see her?" "Yes, but keep it brief. She needs rest." Maya looked smaller in the hospital bed than she had in the ambulance. Machines beeped softly. The oxygen mask was still in place, fogging with each shallow breath. Jae-hyun set Ethan down gently in a chair by the door, then approached the bed. "Hey," he said softly. Maya's eyes opened. When she saw him, she smiled weakly and reached up to pull the mask aside. "Don't," Jae-hyun said. "You need it." "I need to talk to you," she whispered. He sat beside her, taking her hand. "Ethan?" she asked. "He's here, sleeping." She closed her eyes, relieved. "Good. Maya, I don't have much time." Her voice was barely audible. "So, listen." He nodded. "There's a lawyer, David Chen. I've already signed everything. Custody papers, my will, all of it." She coughed, wincing. "When I'm gone, Ethan is yours. Legally. Completely. You don't have to." "Yes, I do." She opened her eyes, and they were fierce. "Your family, Jay. They're going to come for him." His jaw tightened. "They won't touch him." "They will. You know they will." She squeezed his hand. "Your brother, Jin Woo, he's going to want control. He's going to say Ethan belongs with the family, that you can't raise him alone. I'll fight him. I know you will." A tear slipped down her cheek. "But promise me you won't let them turn him into what they are." "I promise. And promise me," her voice broke. "Promise me you'll tell him about me. Every day. So he doesn't forget." "He won't forget. He's 5, Jay. In a year, 2 years, I'll just be a story." She wiped her eyes. "I need you to make sure I'm more than that." His throat tightened. "You will be. I swear." She smiled, exhausted. "Thank you. For loving him. For being here. I'm sorry I wasn't there before. You're here now." She closed her eyes. "That's all that matters." Maya slept for the next 12 hours. Jae-hyun stayed by her side, leaving only to take Ethan to the cafeteria or walk him through the hospital gardens. On the second day, Maya woke up asking for Ethan. Jae-hyun brought him to her bedside. "Hi, Mama," Ethan said quietly, his eyes wide. "Hi, baby." Maya's voice was weak, but her smile was real. "Come here." Ethan climbed carefully onto the bed, curling up beside her. She wrapped her arm around him, kissing the top of his head. "I love you so much," she whispered. "I love you too. You're my whole world, you know that?" Ethan nodded. "And I need you to be brave, okay? Can you do that for me?" "Okay." She looked at Jae-hyun, tears streaming down her face. He understood. This was goodbye. That night, Maya's breathing became labored. The doctors increased her medication, but everyone knew what was happening. Carol took Ethan to a waiting room down the hall, distracting him with cartoons and snacks. Jae-hyun sat beside Maya, holding her hand. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know. Will it hurt?" "No." He didn't know if that was true, but he said it anyway. "You'll just go to sleep." She nodded, her eyes distant. "Jay? Yeah? Do you think there's something after this?" He didn't know what to say. "I think," he said slowly, "that wherever you go, you'll be okay, because you're the strongest person I've ever known." She smiled. "I'm not strong. I'm terrified. Being terrified doesn't mean you're not strong." She looked at him, her eyes softening. "I loved you, you know. A long time ago. I know. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I'd stayed? He did. All the time. Yeah, he said. Would we have been happy? I don't know, but we would have tried. She closed her eyes. That's all anyone can do, I guess. At 4:32 a.m., the machine started beeping. A nurse rushed in, checked the monitors, then looked at Jae-hyun with sad eyes. It's time, she said gently. Jae-hyun's chest tightened. The nurse adjusted Maya's medication, and slowly, the beeping slowed. Maya's breathing became shallow. Jae-hyun held her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her skin. Thank you, he whispered, for giving me a son, for trusting me, for everything. Maya didn't respond, but her grip tightened, just for a second, and then it relaxed. The monitor flatlined. The sound filled the room, sharp and final. The nurse reached over and turned it off. Silence. Jae-hyun sat there, staring at Maya's still face. She looked peaceful, like she was sleeping. He stayed until the nurses gently asked him to leave. Carol brought Ethan back to the room. The boy looked at the empty bed, then at Jae-hyun. Where's Mama? Jae-hyun knelt down, his heart breaking. Ethan, Mama was very sick, and the doctors tried to help her, but she couldn't stay. Ethan's face crumpled. She's gone? Yeah, buddy. She's gone. Is she coming back? Jae-hyun pulled him close. No, she's not. Ethan started crying, deep, wrenching sobs that shook his entire body. Jae-hyun held him, his own tears falling silently. I want my mama, Ethan cried. I know. I want her back. I know, buddy. I know. They sat on the floor of the hospital hallway, holding each other, while the world moved on around them. 3 days later, they buried Maya. It was a small funeral. Just Jae-hyun, Ethan, Carol, and a few of Maya's friends. Ethan didn't understand what was happening. He stood beside the grave, holding Jae-hyun's hand, staring at the casket. Why is Mama in the box? He asked. Because that's where her body rests now. But where is she? Jae-hyun didn't know how to answer that. She's in your heart, he said finally, and in your memories, and she'll always be there. Ethan looked up at him. Promise? Promise. That night, Jae-hyun sat in Maya's house, their house now, going through her things. There were photo albums, letters, drawings Ethan had made, and a letter addressed to him. He opened it slowly. Jay, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I don't know what to say except thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for loving Ethan. Thank you for being the man I always knew you could be. I know this isn't easy. I know you're scared. I know you don't think you're ready, but you are. Ethan is the best thing I ever did, and now he's yours. Your family is going to fight you. Jin-woo especially. He's going to say Ethan belongs with them, that you're not capable of raising him. Don't listen. You're his father, not because of blood, but because you chose him. And that's what matters. Love him, Jay. Protect him. And don't let anyone, not your family, not anyone, turn him into something he's not. He's perfect just the way he is, and so are you. With all my love, Maya. Jae-hyun folded the letter carefully, his hands shaking. Then his phone rang. David Chen. We have a problem, the lawyer said. What now? Your brother filed a petition this morning. He's contesting Maya's will. He's claiming you're unfit to raise Ethan, and that the child should be placed under the family's guardianship. Jae-hyun's blood ran cold. He can't do that. He can, and he is. You have 2 weeks to respond. What are my options? We fight, but Jae-hyun, your brother has resources, money, lawyers, political connections. This isn't going to be easy. I don't care. You should, because if he wins, you lose Ethan, permanently. Jae-hyun's grip tightened on the phone. Then we make sure he doesn't win. David paused. There's one more thing. What? He's requested a meeting. Tomorrow, at the family estate. Why? He didn't say, but I'd advise caution. Jae-hyun hung up and stared at the wall. His brother, the man who had controlled him his entire life. The man who saw people as assets, tools, and now he wanted Ethan. The next morning, Jae-hyun drove to the estate. It was a sprawling compound on the edge of the city. Gray stone, high walls, security everywhere. He'd grown up here, and he'd spent the last 5 years trying to forget it. The guards let him through without a word. Inside, Jin-woo was waiting in the study. He was older than Jae-hyun by 7 years. Tall, sharp, cold. Little brother, Jin-woo said, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. It's been a while. What do you want, Jin? Jin-woo smiled. Straight to the point. I always liked that about you. He handed Jae-hyun a glass. Jae-hyun didn't take it. Jin-woo shrugged and set it on the desk. I'll make this simple. You have something that belongs to the family. He's not a thing. He's a min. That makes him ours. He's my son. Jinwoo laughed. Your son? You didn't even know he existed a month ago. And now I do. And you think that makes you a father? Jinwoo leaned back in his chair. You walked away from this family, Jae. You wanted a normal life, a clean life, and I let you have it. You didn't let me do anything. Didn't I? Jinwoo's smile faded. You're only free because I allow it. And now you want to take my nephew and raise him outside of our world? In some fantasy where he's just a regular kid? Yes, that's not how this works. Jae-hyun stepped forward. He's not going to grow up like we did. Like we did. Jinwoo stood. We had everything. Power, respect, legacy. We had nothing. Jae-hyun's voice was low, dangerous. We were weapons, tools, and I'm not letting that happen to him. Jinwoo's expression hardened. Then you're a fool. Maybe. I'll give you one chance, Jae. Bring Ethan to the estate. Let us raise him properly, and I'll make sure you're part of his life. No, then I'll take him. You'll try. Jinwoo smiled coldly. Don't make this a war, little brother. You won't win. Jae-hyun met his eyes. Watch me. He turned and walked out. When he got home, Ethan was sitting on the couch, drawing. Hey, buddy, Jae-hyun said. Hi, Dad. The words still caught him off guard. Dad. He sat beside Ethan. What are you drawing? You and me, and Mama. Ethan held up the picture. 3 stick figures holding hands. Jae-hyun's throat tightened. It's perfect. Ethan smiled. Can we keep it? Yeah, we'll keep it forever. Ethan leaned against him, and Jae-hyun wrapped his arm around the boy. Dad? Yeah? Are we going to be okay? Jae-hyun looked at the drawing, at the 3 of them, together. Yeah, buddy, he said. We're going to be okay. But even as he said it, his phone buzzed. A message from Jinwoo. You have 1 week, then I come for him. Jae-hyun stared at the screen. His brother wanted a war, and he was about to get one. To be continued in episode 02. Jae-hyun has lost everything. His fiancée, the woman he once loved, and the life he thought he wanted. But he's gained something more important, a son. Now, he must face the empire that made him, his brother, his family, his past. And the battle for Ethan's future is only beginning. Can a broken man become the father his son needs? Or will the shadows of his family destroy them both? The war has just begun.